Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Center for Reducing Health Disparities, Stir Crazy. And I want to welcome my guests with me here today. Hello, all. We have Josh, Morgan, and Keisha. Thank you for joining me today on our special Pan-niversary episode. So today we're going to talk about this last year that we've all endured, and we are grateful to be here today to even have this discussion. But we're going to have some serious conversation and then a little bit of fun. So I thank you all for being here with me today. So the first thing I want to do, let's reflect a little bit about 2020 and talk about those moments. I want you all to go back to early March 2020 and those first moments of us hearing about the coronavirus. And when it wasn't yet, there weren't any reported cases here yet. You know, we were kind of, well, actually, there may have been, but there definitely wasn't anything in Ohio. So how did you all feel in those early moments? I know we were at work, like, what the heck is going on? And you all weren't even here yet. So, well, Morgan, you weren't here yet.
I'll say that, so, because I do a lot of the website stuff, so I remember seeing a lot about the virus in the Metro Health media brief things, and it was one of those things where it's almost like I don't even know how to describe it. It was just interesting to see the kind of rise in cases and seeing it spread. I'd see originated kind of on the in China and stuff like that, and then I'm like, okay, then made its way to Europe, and then slowly, and it was just one of those things where it's I'm like, huh, this thing's getting close, and then all of a sudden it hit the US, and it was just it was weird to kind of track it almost in real time, just to see it spread.
Definitely, I'd say the same thing. I know we were at maybe Julie's desk. I can't remember who's Elodie's desk at work. And we were pulling up the CDC website to see where the cases were and if there had been a case yet in Ohio. And I remember when the first cases hit Ohio, and we were like, oh my gosh, what does this mean now? Because we were like, it's not in Ohio, we're good. But yeah, and we saw those first noted cases, and I know that was a game changer. Morgan, where were you?
I was in college in Massachusetts on the western part of Massachusetts, Northwestern. And yeah, we were also seeing okay, there's this illness in China. And then it was the moment it started spreading to Europe, and we were receiving emails from the administration of our college, the deans and the president being like, we're keeping an eye on this. And we would get weekly COVID update emails about where the school was when it was really starting to spread globally. And we also had students abroad too. And students who were supposed to be spending spring semester in China studying abroad, and so their plans were scrapped. They had to come back to campus and scramble, decide whether or not they wanted to come back or take time off. And then I remember Italy's a super popular spot. Italy and Spain were really popular spots for people to go abroad. And so when we started hearing from them that their programs were being canceled and they were being sent home, we were like, oh no, this is bad. It's inevitable, it's going to come here. And then we started seeing different colleges around the US were oh, we're sending students home. And I remember Harvard, when they sent Harvard students home, we were like, it's going to be us. we're like, please no, please no. Everyone's emailing our president, please let us stay, please let us stay. And then, yeah, we got the email, oh, you have to go home now. And it was almost apocalyptic in the sense of I've never seen so many people talking physically on the phone or looking at their phone, and at the same time there being just weird silence as well. And so it was really strange. And so yeah, I had to scramble and come home, but it was definitely very, very surreal. And where I went to school is a bubble, very rural, so all of our interactions were truly through the media and reading and things like that. So,
which was super scary at the beginning of the pandemic. The media was, oh my gosh, I don't even want to talk about that early pandemic anxiety that had me up at night. What are we doing? It was so scary. And I remember one of my earliest moments of just being completely naive and just we didn't know any better was when the schools closed, and we were like, yeah, this will probably just be for a couple of weeks. Well, I'm sure we'll be back, in April. Yeah, so guys, just take a little bit of work to go home, and probably 2 weeks, we'll see what's going on. And we were like, all right, see you, bye. This is fun. And then here it is, over a year later, which is crazy. What were you thinking at the time, Keisha?
So the first thing that came to my mind when I heard about the COVID virus was the Ebola virus, because it was kind of like the same reaction. Everybody was panicking and just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. And of course, I'm, can't get the vaccine and immune suppressed and all these other ailments that I need to be worried about the virus. But initially, I was just kind of keeping an eye out on it. Went to the CDC website, just kind of checked that out periodically just to see what was going on. But that's about it. I was at work, of course, and they didn't make a big deal out of it. So
yeah, I think we had I would say it was very fortunate to work for a healthcare system at the time, because we got information that a lot of other folks just weren't privy to. And then at the same time, it made you, worry even that much more. I think a lot of, early in the pandemic, I wish I was unaware, and not in a way that I would, would be unsafe or out here, but just some of this stuff I just did not have to know, I think. And I went into many rabbit holes early on that had me like terrified of what was going on. So yeah, and here we are a year later. When did you all know that this is gonna be a while? We're gonna be in this for the long haul.
Towards the mid end of April, I realized, okay, it's not 2 weeks. We about to be sick and shut in. Well, just shut in, hopefully not sick. But right. Yeah, I just realized that this is not going to time soon. So
I think it was when it was past that 2 weeks where I was like, oh, this is kind of, maybe it's gonna be a little bit longer. And then I don't know. I think it's like when we started doing all the adjusting projects, where we started like, okay, well, this is how we're gonna have to do this from home. This is just, this is a little less than temporary. So I was like, oh, okay, I should get used to doing this stuff this way.
Yeah. I think for me, when I saw like schools closing through the end of the year, that in 2020 with no graduations and proms, I'm like, we're like in the height of this. Oh, and definitely, paying attention to our governor and our health commissioner at the time. I don't think that was her commissioner, health director at the time, talking about what to look forward to. All of the early on predictions to our peaks and what could happen if we didn't flatten the curve. Oh my gosh. I was like, yeah, we're in the height of this. And, I didn't know where the end was at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it was definitely around like mid-April was when I was like, oh, this is gonna take a lot longer than I anticipated. Like, it's gonna go past the summer. Like I was really anxious. Actually, when I came back home, they extended our spring break. It was originally 2 weeks and they made it 3. And then I was home all the time, like super bored. So I was checking like the COVID John Hopkins tracker like daily. Like it was obsessive. I was like,
that's how it was on the CDC.
Flatten the curve. Yeah, I like false hope. I was like, if we flatten it, they'll let us come back. I'll be able to graduate on campus, see all my friends. No, lies. And so yeah, I was just like looking at it so often. I think at a certain point, like I was like, yeah, like we're in this for the long haul. Yeah, like long haul. Once it became political, I knew it was gonna be a long term thing.
Yeah. Also. And I think you all mentioned checking websites. And for me, it was the governor's daily report at 2 p.m. Like, do not call my phone. Do not. I am watching the governor and seeing what is up with COVID. Those numbers began to skyrocket like crazy. Even the death numbers, the death toll. I'm like, this is insane. It was super scary. And for me, it was when he started with the closures. It was like every single day there was another, I guess, part of society that was just being shut down, and it was just sad. So
it's scary now with the numbers going back up so quickly. Yeah, I was looking at that yesterday, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, like we see a light at the end of the tunnel, but then there's always the reminder that we're not through this yet. Like we're just not, and we still have to remain, diligent.
Mhm.
I think too, also, when everyone started like, I think when I also realized like part was bigger is when I think everyone started taking immersers. I know some people have like been hit or miss with it, but like, when like grocery stores were starting to like sell out of stuff, like like paper products and stuff like that, and it was just like, oh, like everyone's, or like, the majority is like worried about this. This isn't just like the people in the healthcare or like medical like field. It's everyone's kind of got their like finger on the pulse type thing.
Did you all do that early pandemic scramble to the store?
Sorta. I
Yeah,
like I
kind
got
of.
there the week. I think I got there like the week before. So yeah, the thing about that was is like our stay at home order, like when we started working from home, was I had just moved, and so like I had spent 1 week working in the office before I moved, and then I was just kind of getting stuff for the
Oh.
apartment in general. And then it
Mhm.
turned into like I happened to just gone shopping. So when that everyone started like scrambling, I was like, oh, I already sort of bought stuff.
Yeah. I didn't so much as like scramble to get a lot of things. I just wanted to make sure that there was enough at my home to cook. And then, I got stuff for my parents as well because I didn't really want them out. I did a nice haul at BJ's for like paper products and things like that. But I wasn't excessive with it. I got enough for, my normal amount,
Yeah.
nothing extra. Yeah.
For me, it was these kids. I'm like, okay, so they're gonna be eating lunch here, breakfast, dinner, snacks. Like,
Yeah.
what is that gonna look like? So I was just like, oh my God. And then it was my first time using like a grocery delivery service. So I
Mhm.
became acquainted with Instacart and stuff. And I just remember my
Oh yeah.
first bills for those. I was like, girl, how are you gonna keep up with this throughout the pandemic? Because this is a lot of groceries, and I have a teenager and a growing, at the time he was 10 years old. Yeah, that part was super scary. I was just like, how am I gonna feed my kids because they eat too much? So that was funny. So early.
Oh, sorry, Erica. I was saying, your oldest one. I'm just saying, like my girlfriend gets 20% off for working at Heinen's. Like, I'm like if you want to get some cut down on the groceries that way.
I know,
Yeah.
right? Like, girl,
The
here's
discount.
this. Yes, I'll cash out you the money and pick it up.
A lot of my friends were going to a lot of the different food pantries to kind of supplement what they couldn't afford when for their children being home for
Yeah,
such a lengthy period. So that definitely came in handy for a lot of people.
yeah,
is
yeah.
Food pantries.
And it's so funny because like after maybe the first month, 6 weeks of meal planning and shopping for all these snacks and stuff, really it was just like nervous eating. We were stressed out. We were at home. We were bored to death. We were super bored after classes were done and work. We were just sitting there munching. So that's when I was like, oh yeah, this is not going to work. Number one, because it's expensive. Number two, because we're becoming greedy. And that's when that whole pandemic, those pandemic pounds came on, baby. Like,
Yeah, so it really like shined a light on like food insecurity in a lot of areas too.
Yeah,
like,
it did.
Like when like grocery stores start shutting down or like fast food chain restaurants aren't doing as much.
Yeah.
And less people are donating to food banks and things like that. It's like really hard for people in certain communities to like get food.
Yeah, that part. When our infrastructure of services for people began to break down, that was, I think, the saddest thing, especially when it came to some of our seniors who get meal deliveries and stuff like that. Like, that was devastating when you look at the folks who depend on our organizations the most. And at the time, those organizations are shut down. And it's been interesting, though, with our COVID spotlights we've been doing on organizations for the last year. We've just been seeing how hard they've been working to not disrupt those services. But so much across the country has happened where people just needed help. So, yeah, it's been crazy. So what were some of those early moments during the pandemic when it was when we knew we were all in it together, and we began to see the commercials about staying at home, stay safe, we're all in this together, and then I guess Instagram, TikTok, things began to kind of blow up as far as social media, and our celebrities began to become involved. And I know for me, I began to follow like celebrities, and I think John Legend was the first free concert that
Mhm.
he had offered. Debbie Allen had offered some dance classes. Like
Yes,
it was just
yeah.
super fun. So did you guys have anything that you took part in or paid attention to?
I did a couple online cooking classes, of course. And then on the weekend, D Nice had
Mhm.
his little shows, his DJ shows. So that was nice. It kind of puts you at like, I mean, it was called Club Quarantine. So it's like you at the club, but you're at home in your own space. And I enjoyed that. That was kind of like my release of stress on the weekend. It's just to listen to some good music and be able to comment when other people were commenting. And in the lives that he had, there was like Michelle Obama and Debbie Allen was in there. A lot of celebrities were also enjoying that at home as well. So that was kind of cool. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, those shows used to. It made me feel good because I felt like I was partying with celebrities. Like,
Right.
oh, y'all watching this too? Okay, you know, it was just super fun.
Exactly. So that was neat.
And y'all too. I can delete all this out, by the way. But like,
I'm trying to think. I don't think I did anything, especially nothing like early on. I mean, I know I've gotten a real kick out of like Warner Brothers announced like their entire slate for, but it's for like 2021, that their entire slate of movies is going to be like same day theaters as the HBO Max. So like that's the thing I get a kick out of. But like that's like this year, so I don't think there's
That's
anything.
cool.
I don't think there's anything early on. If anything, I was upset early on with a lot of the stuff that like I think there was a concert I was going to go to that got canceled,
Mhm.
and they rescheduled, and it got canceled again because things didn't get better. Movies got pushed back or just haven't been released yet and stuff like that. So I like there's been a lot of like unresolved stuff that I didn't get to do.
yeah, I know we had a trip scheduled like March 20th in that little area to go to Paris. And it was like my aunt's birthday. My mom was going, my sister, myself. We were ready to go, had the Airbnb tickets to Moulin Rouge ready.
Mm.
And yeah, we got canceled. And we tried to like play it up until the last minute, but we knew it wasn't happening, at that point.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember you planning around that. like, oh, because I remember, I think, yeah, we had just been at home. And I asked him, I'm like, are you still going on that trip?
It came to a point where we were like, we have to cancel, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, it was pretty bad. And then I had a concert, Stephen Marley concert in Detroit, and I was so pumped to go to this concert, me and my boyfriend, and he was like, we're not going. And then they postponed it, and then of course it got canceled again. Same thing like with you, Josh.
Yeah. Yeah, I was still in school, so I was like virtual classes all the time, asynchronous, trying to figure out if my class was meeting or not meeting. But yeah, no, like I was a part of our gospel choir on campus, and so it was like senior year. It was our last concert. We were super excited, like having rehearsing our songs in our school, and I was like, oh, no major gatherings until this date, and our concert fell on that day, so we were like, oh, let's see if we can push it back, blah blah. But then we ended up going home, and so that was kind of sad. But we ended up doing like kind of like a virtual like singing event together, which is super fun. I know a lot of other groups like got to do that as well. But yeah, I was just I don't know if I think similar to Josh, I was just like, oh, so much stuff is getting canceled, and it's so sad, but also like I don't know. I also found other stuff to do as well. Like since I was home, I'm like a huge soccer fan. Like I love English Premier League, and so I was actually home and had access to cable on the weekend and was like able to watch with my family, which was like a nice break. I definitely felt like I had like more balance between school and like my personal life when I had to do it online, which was interesting.
Yeah. I think the days like kind of blended all together, like with work. So early in the pandemic, for sure, like during the day, I could work in the morning, but then again, when the governor came on at 2:00, like that lunchtime, and then after, depending on what he said, I was like kind of depressed, like, oh my God, this is so crazy and serious. And I was like sad. Then I could work again at night. Like it was just the weirdest thing, like all over the place. And I think finding that work from home rhythm with other people in the house and sharing internet, and it was just a lot. It was a lot, but here we are. We figured it out. So what are some of those early things implemented into our society that we can't get rid of now? Like, I mean, I'm just going to say mask. Like, can we just keep masks? I am a fan of masks. Let's just keep it. I know we aren't traditionally a country to wear a mask in our society, but others do. And I'm like, that is just so freaking smart. And I just want to like, I'm a fan. Keep the mask and keep the 6 feet. And like, don't even make it.
Definitely.
When they
That's
say
what I was going to
6 feet,
say.
I'm
Keep the 6 feet.
yes, keep the 6 feet. Stay back, please. What else do we think should stick around?
Probably more hybrid work from home options.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like my mom also works from home. She loves it. She's like, this is my dream. I've always wanted to work from home. It's like I finally got it. All it took was a pandemic. That's terrible, but here we are.
Yeah.
And like, I like having like the option. I like having the option of like, oh, do I want to like
pop in?
And will I be more productive if I go into the office today, or will I be more productive if I work from home? And like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I always envision work from home like being this great opportunity to get up, do yoga, make my tea, sit down, burn candles, and like zone out to Erica Badu in the background as I do my work. But I had a kid here with his blaring teacher in his online class. I had another one. I was like, this is not the work from home that I envisioned. So it's not going to work. Like, I still feel like now I'm getting the opportunity to actually have the work from home experience that I like always dreamed of. That's funny.
Yeah.
I think, I definitely think the mask thing though, because like like in other countries I've had to deal with this, and I think definitely like that's gonna be something that like I continually do, like if and when we make it out of this, but like during flu season, stuff like that, just as like a general health precaution. But I think the work from home thing, I think it just really showcased that like the like flexibility, like when you need to get stuff done, like it really just showcased like the flexibility. It's like, oh no, like this, you can still get stuff done even if you got to do it a different way.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think let me see. I don't know. I think I'm a fan of just like order pickup. Like Target. Why have I never used Target Drive Up before? I don't know, but like that is my jam right now. I love it. And I feel bad because like the person might be coming out bringing me 3 items in a bag, and I feel so lazy and terrible. But then sometimes I have like a haul where they're bringing it out to the car. So oh my gosh, it's like order pickup is game changing, time saving. I love it.
Yeah. I think we should keep the 6 feet distance, even though half the time when I'm in the store, I always have somebody on my back.
Yes.
But that's a topic for another day. The Instacart has been a lifesaver because I don't like going to the store as it is. So just to sit on the computer and pick what I want and someone bring it to my door is like the best. I'm lazy when it comes to grocery shopping. As much as I cook, I just don't want to go to the store to get it. And then the mask, yes, because I'm just at this point, I don't want anybody breathing on me, period. And that's it. I think that's it.
Hand washing, like
and work from home.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I said hand washing. It's sad to say can we keep hand washing? Because I know too many times people will just dip out from the bathrooms without washing their hands. And I'm like, you can't.
But I still see it. So that's.
Also spending more time outside. I feel like
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah.
I feel like I definitely like took better, like I think because things were so hard, I really emphasized self-care and like taking breaks that I didn't allow myself when everything was quote unquote like normal, like pre-pandemic. And I think that's like we need to keep up that kind of energy of like self-sustainability, keeping yourself like refreshed and good, like taking breaks, going outside, like listening to your body and your mind when like you need to like step away from things, because I think we gave ourselves that permission to do that during the pandemic, but I think it needs to like continue once as we like sort ourselves out through it.
I think once like, May and June hit with other societal things happening, I think it was more prevalent that people like said, okay, enough is enough, let me sit back and take my time and take my space. But early pandemic, I was like, are we not going to just pause just to reflect on the fact that we're all living through this moment that we've never lived through before, and it's scary? And, I was thinking about my parents and, just loved ones who were in different cities that were being impacted, my family in New York, I was terrified. And I feel like, we did a great job with just keeping things afloat at work and, at home and stuff like that. But I felt like we needed a national pause. Like, let's just take a break. Everybody take 7 days to just kind of prepare your work from home spaces, prepare your schedules. How is it going to work with it? And that never happened. So I still feel like we were gypped of that moment to just adjust to something crazy that was happening.
Yeah, it was a real like hit the ground running type thing.
Yeah, completely crazy and kind of unfair. Like even to like now when I log into meetings and I'm just like a Zoom. Are we keeping Zoom? Is that one thing that we'll keep? Is virtual meetings?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you like look at you. You like, well, if I'm working from home, I'm gonna need a virtual meeting. So
Right.
yes, I'll say let's definitely keep the virtual meetings, but I can get rid of having my camera on all the time. Like because I remember early in the pandemic too, when I learned how to braid hair, put extensions in my hair. I was like in a staff meeting, I think with my camera off, or some other meeting with my camera off, because I was over here getting it. Like, yes, I'm braiding my hair. So was I not engaged? I was completely engaged in the meeting. But at the time I was braiding my hair, I was excited and I couldn't have
Multitask.
Yeah,
Yes.
Actually, like kind of piggybacking off that, I think also lowering the because I mean, like, virtual meetings have always kind of been a thing too, or not always, but they've been around for a bit. But I think I like the precedent that we set, like when we started doing that. It's like, hey, kind of just like, we get it, you're working from home, like kind of come as you are. Don't worry about like trying to be too. I remember, like, I don't know if you remember, like the first like 3 or 4 meetings I had, I still like dressed up for work.
Yes.
I was still wearing a tie, and then I was like, it was like, or maybe it was like, yeah, like I think 2 weeks went by, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I knew it was bad. Like when I stopped combing my hair and I was like wearing like scarves and stuff, I'm like, whoa, Erica, whoa. Like you're still at work, you still have these meetings, you have to look presentable. I'm not gonna say that I don't wear joggers on the bottom. I'm not gonna say that at all. Yes, definitely that balance, Josh, for real.
Yeah.
I remember I used to be like, dang, Josh is dressed up. Let me get myself together. Like that's funny.
Yeah, like, am I wearing pajama pants right now? Maybe.
And that's the thing. People would be like, people would assume it's like, oh, like he's probably still got like PJ pants on or something. I'm like, no, I dressed full up, like real pants and a belt and everything.
That's funny. Yeah, I definitely would keep Zoom and keep virtual for sure. What else? I think I'm hoping that society does take time to reflect and say, you know what, this wasn't as bad. Like some of our organizations and institutions to say our staff did that. And, we were able to maintain our workloads and service people, complete projects. I'm hoping that we can take a step back and say, it's time to kind of switch from this antiquated way of doing things, this 9 to 5 day, which wasn't even designed for our type of work. It's just, it's kind of crazy. So I'm hoping that we can get more flexibility, because work-life balance means everything. And you have a healthier employee is a more productive employee, when we can just kind of manage our schedules and work at our peak moments. Okay, so let's transition from that to okay, so let's take a look at some things that kind of happened in 2020. So I'm gonna start. 2020 came in with a bang for me. My most memorable 2020 moment early on, even pre-pandemic, was losing Kobe. Like that was just tough in itself. And then that was like even before the pandemic happened. So when we're looking at after the pandemic, what were some of those like pop culture and iconic moments that happened? And I'm gonna have to say Tiger King was one of the earlier ones. One of the earlier moments. Did y'all watch Tiger King?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you watch it, Keisha?
No.
It is not.
When I don't watch TV often. Like I haven't watched TV probably in like 3 weeks. But when I do watch TV, it's usually like the news, CNN, MSNBC, or Nollywood movies. So I don't watch a lot of TV at all.
Okay, so I was not I had my shows that I would watch, but like compared to now, like definitely that's really the only thing to do, So I'll kind of like plug in on Friday nights and Saturday nights. I'm like snuggling up with my latest bench, and it's crazy that that's still happening even now, a year later. But Tiger King was definitely the one that kicked it off for me, and it was just classic. And y'all see that Joe Exotic's husband is like divorcing him now. Which
Oh, really?
Wow.
yeah, I saw it pop up on like Google or something. I was like,
Oh boy.
yeah,
He's had so many husbands.
yeah. Like a little.
How many did he have?
A lot. 2 at one time, like at the same time at one point.
He did.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's polyamorous.
Movie or was it a series?
It's like a docuseries.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and it's good, Keisha. Like, I mean, I felt ridiculous.
long
How many episodes?
I don't know if good's the entire right word. It's interesting.
8 episodes. I can't. It's like a season.
It's
Yeah.
no more than 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 8 episodes.
okay.
And I think the other one early on was probably Love Is Blind. Did you all watch that?
Yeah. That was like on the cusp of pandemic time too.
Yeah. Love Is Blind, Keisha.
She's like, nah.
Is that what Issa?
No, Love Is Blind is the reality TV show where folks are dating in these pods where they can't see each other, but they can hear each other. And then
I heard of it.
Yeah, they have to propose at the end of it or whatever. That is really good. Do you still follow any of the couples, Morgan?
So Lauren and Cameron are like the cutest thing of all time. That was the only couple that like truly was just like chef's kiss. Healthy, good, reliable.
Yeah.
There was like that one guy who was there was like it was the couple where like there was like that weird tension about their age difference. That like she was 10 years old. What's his name? Mark?
Oh, Mark.
Mark.
And she let her dog drink her wine out of her wine.
Yes, she did let her dog drink her wine. It was very uncomfortable.
Yes.
But those two, well, he's a cheater apparently, so that was a whole shit.
Oh wow! And he tried to act so sweet, like I'm this family man. I'm gonna love my woman. Like, oh, I didn't get that vibe from him. So that's
he's like, oh, like like I'm a God-loving Christian family man. He was out here seeming like a good guy. Post-production, not as much. And then I honestly, truly don't remember the other couples. There was a girl who cried at the altar. That was crazy. Damien and Gigi or whatever.
Who ran like Omori. Yeah, she took off running. Wedding dress, she like flew.
They had the Maury cameramans following her like a quarter mile down the road. She's running in a wedding dress.
It was so dramatic. Like, come on now. That was funny.
She like slipped. It was a whole thing.
That was funny. So were any of you introduced to TikTok during the pandemic?
Oh, I actively avoid TikTok.
So good.
Yeah.
So I had never followed TikTok until now. And, early on in the pandemic, I would just, before I go to bed, that's kind of what I would watch to like ease my mind because it was so good. Like people are so creative and it's just hilarious. So definitely a fan of TikTok.
Yep.
For sure.
I was gonna say the big thing for me was actually losing Chadwick Boseman kind of really, really bummed me out for like a straight up week. Like, I don't know. It put me in a real sour mood.
Yeah. I remember you and I talking that morning, next morning, Josh, we were just like, really? Like that?
Like, that's not fair.
Yeah, that hurt.
No.
Yeah, that was sad. So I think Chadwick mixed with George Floyd, the entire month of June just being explosive in regards to social justice and movements across the globe, which, insane and energizing, empowering, but also
kind of
chaotic, draining,
Very draining.
It was a lot, and it still is a lot. Then we got those corporate messages, the I stand messages, and kind of deciphering through those. It was just, oh gosh, so
it was a lot at once. Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, and the numbers are rising. Like we're still
like that's the thing is like all this stuff was happening, but like the pandemic was just like this big backdrop of like here's this already bad thing going on, and then here's other stuff.
Any Hamilton fans?
I enjoy Hamilton, the soundtrack. Yes.
Cass, did you watch it yet?
No.
Haven't seen it. I'm
No.
afraid. I'm
I'm
afraid.
glad I'm not alone.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, okay, so Disney Plus was like, hey, all right.
I know.
And
I was like, oh my God, Erica's gonna yell at me for not watching it.
No, it's so good though. I love the music. I don't know why I haven't just gotten around to watching it yet. It's just, I don't know. I'm savoring it. I don't know why.
So did you see it?
I've never seen. I've only ever listened to the soundtrack.
Okay, so I think I kind of wish I would have listened to the soundtrack before seeing it here in Cleveland, because they're kind of, the raps are fast, the singing is fast, you're watching the action, so I didn't catch everything in the play, and then immediately that night I started listening to the soundtrack and putting the pieces together of what I may have missed. So now that you know the soundtrack in and out, it'll be even better for you when you watch it.
Yeah, I've been listening to Hamilton since like, when did that come out? We were like, I was in like high school. Was it like 2016? Was that when that was like huge?
I think 2017, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and so like I've had those lyrics in my head for a while. Me and my friends were like, should we watch a bootleg version? Because we knew we were never going to see that play in person. We're like, maybe one day they'll come out with an actual release. I think if it came out like 2 years ago, or even like 3 years ago, I would have jumped on it so quick.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just haven't found that motivation yet. But yeah. What's also crazy is in January, I totally forgot this happened. Like there was that whole situation with like Iran, and like we truly thought we were going to go to war with them at one point.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and then the pandemic happened. I like totally forgot about that. And I remember it being, like a huge deal, because I was an Arabic studies major at school. And so we were all like, oh my God, what is going on? Like everyone in like our academic circle and department was like super wild. Oh, and then there was the Browns.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Browns.
I feel like on a so like weird off that like brighter note though, there was like I don't know if it's like a big like pop culture moment, but like a thing that I noticed, like like all these companies adjusting to do stuff for people at home. So like PlayStation released just like a bunch of games. It's like, hey, like play at home. Like you're stuck at home. Here's a bunch of free games. If you didn't own them already, here's just a bunch of free things. Just no subscription, nothing needed. Just like we know you're probably bored.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's good. That's nice.
I signed up for Fender early on and got guitar lessons.
Oh yeah.
And so I hadn't played my guitar in years, and I'm like, I'm gonna learn how to play the guitar. I'm gonna learn how to play a few songs throughout the pandemic. I'm gonna work on my Spanish, and I'm gonna come out of here with a 6-pack. Like, no, I survived the pandemic without all that extra stuff. Like, that's just crazy. And I think that's it for. I mean, really, aside from the election, that was.
Oh my goodness!
Block that out.
Right, right. We blacked out. That was like a moment that you forget because it was too much. But also, yeah. So like, wow, that was a moment that kind of was the capstone of the cherry on top to our 2020 is dealing with the election shenanigans and whatnot, which was a lot. So again, in the pandemic and the stress of the election was a lot for most of us to bear. So
that was intense.
Very.
That was.
Very. And then that was 2021 technically, but like the insurrection.
Right. I was like, oh, this is what we're doing in America. Like, this is how that was just too much. I felt like we had lost control.
That's what they're doing in America.
There we go.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
Right.
No thanks.
All right, so let's switch the conversation over to the COVID-19 vaccine and our vaccination process and whatnot. So initially, did you all follow the workings of the vaccine, mid-year last year?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
In the background, I was kind of listening, like, where are we at with it? Oh, okay, now we're in the trial phase. Okay, see what happens. And then like when they dropped the bomb that they were ready to roll out, I was like, dang, like that was just so fast. Like, did you all have any initial thoughts about it? And did you instantly know, yes, I'm interested, I'm gonna get it, or I'm interested in my family getting it, or was it like more apprehension?
I was apprehended because it was so fast. And I had a lot of questions like, okay, how many African Americans are in this trial? You know, I'm breaking it down. Like, what is the chemical factors that is going to make it effective? And, you know, even though I'm not able to get it, I still want to inform my parents and my family, you know, so they can make a educated guess or educated decision on whether they wanted to do it or not. But I don't know. I just had a lot of questions about the process and, you know, how did we get here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think same for me. Once it was time to roll out, I had to sit back and really think about it and do research because I hadn't been following it to a
Right.
T, you know, up to that moment. But I'm like, oh, snap, you know, let me take a look and see where things stand, because we were still uncertain as to whether things would be mandated, especially working for a hospital system. You know, will we have to get it? So it was like, you know, let me figure this out. But early on, I thought I would have until probably now-ish. I was thinking like May, June would be like the opportunity that I would have to get it. And that totally changed. So
Are you done? Did you get both? Okay.
Yeah, I think February 2nd was my second one. So it's been a while.
Okay.
And I think having access to, you know, the opportunity to get it through our jobs was huge.
Right.
And I had to contemplate, like, you know, having the opportunity to get it now, being a single mom, like I didn't want to have the opportunity to get it and then I get sick later and, you know, something bad happened. Right. So that was like my choice and decision. But how did you all feel for us who were able to get it? Keisha, I understand you weren't, but like, how did y'all feel with like dose 1 and dose 2?
I just actually scheduled my first dose for like next.
So Josh, okay, so you got your first dose and now you still have to watch Hamilton and then you're all caught up with life. Like,
well, okay. Yeah. So that's the thing too. First off, yeah, when it came out, I was, you know, cautiously optimistic, but like, yeah, like you said, they rolled it out really fast. And like anything, just I think just being in the, you're always like, when scientific breakthroughs happen too quick, you're always just a little bit like, should we test that a little more? But I understand like the need for it.
Exactly.
But then after that, so yeah, then I remember we got the notifications about who's able to get it. Like get it initially because it was like, you know, all the frontline workers and patient facing people at Metro, and then they said, oh, then it could get to the rest of the staff. And then I thought about it, and then I don't know, just weirdly enough, I don't know how, but like slipped my mind, and then I went to try to go like schedule it, and it would not let me do it. It would not, like, there was like, no, there's no openings available. And I think it was also around the time people were actually getting like starting to get like their second one and there was no openings available. So I think now that it's available for like everyone, that I'm like, okay, now I can schedule it with everyone else.
Right. Yeah. And you know, I listen to folks who have apprehension about getting it. And it's like 1,000% understand. Like I'm still scared. Like, I'm like, did you really do this soon? Like, I'm still tripping about it, you know? So it was definitely a moment where I kind of was like, let me be an example for my family who I know may be a bit tougher to convince, and get it early on. So it just kind of worked out.
Yeah, I definitely felt similar. I got both of mine already. I got my second one on like the 24th of March, I think. Yeah. But like I initially was like kind of nervous and anxious about it, but then kind of had to sit and like really sit with that anxiety and nervousness and be like, okay, like, why do I feel that? Like, what are the reasons why I'm feeling this way? And then like, if I'm able to kind of, once I was able to like articulate where I was coming from, then I was able to like find answers that like to the questions that I had. And so it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's super interesting when people are like, oh, it was so fast. It was so fast. When like the technology, like the mRNA technology that they're using to make the vaccines is like, they've been working on for like a really long time actually. And like, it's something they've been studying. And like in other times when there's kind of been like public health, like epidemics or issues, like how we saw with like HIV and AIDS, like when all hands are on deck and that's literally what everyone's focusing on and like no one else is literally doing anything, like, yeah, it's gonna come out like super fast, which makes a ton of sense. If that's the only thing people are working on, like within these like pharmaceutical companies and stuff. But yeah, no, and then I think once I saw like doctors at Metro getting it,
Mhm.
And like, I felt really comfortable and safe getting it. Like when Daryl was like, yeah, I've gotten the vaccine and like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the vaccine. I trust Daryl. Daryl does it, I'm gonna do it. And so I felt like super safe seeing like care providers of color, like
Mhm.
getting the vaccine, and seeing that like one of the people who helped make the vaccine was like a woman of color, like a Black woman with her PhD, which is super dope.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's
all of us.
it's interesting. I think what is hard, I was like, because I just wrote the blog, is like humans are really bad at assessing risk and judging risk. And at the end of the day, I think it's important to just like sit down and like look at like the statistical facts and like gather as much information as you can from as many credible sources as you can muster, and really sit down and say, okay, like the evidence of this link to the vaccine is super low, like almost non-existent, unsupported. But we know COVID will kill you. We know you will have long-lasting health symptoms because of COVID. And so being able to make that judgment on your own, but then also thinking about how it affects people around you too, is important.
Yeah, I think I didn't want to get COVID. Like I didn't. I don't know if I had it, who knows, but like I didn't want to get it and have lasting effects from it. That was kind of a fear as well. But yeah, I think you kind of summed that up pretty good too, Morgan, about the trust and how the trust has to roll out, and I saw a lot of different articles saying that the COVID vaccine rollout is moving at the speed of trust, because literally that's what it was. And we don't pay attention to other vaccines that come out, like
Like
HPV. Right,
Yeah.
right. Like how
Like that was so new. My mom was like, yeah, give it to her.
Right.
I was like, okay.
Right. So it's like, how often are we in tune with some of these things that happen? And I tell people now who say like, I'm definitely not getting it. And I'm like, but we didn't blink at some of the stuff that we got back in the day, like loaded with vaccinations as a kid. And I know some people are, opposed to that, but my mom never said like, well, what is in it and what's going to happen? What are some long-term implications? She's like, okay, I don't want my kid to get polio. Give it to her.
Yeah.
So, we just weren't really, it wasn't in the media like it is now.
I was gonna say, I think that's like par for the course of the times of just having access to information and able, like if you have questions about stuff, you have more avenues to get an understanding about it.
If
so
you
like
look at the right source, and that's our
yeah.
Like,
I mean, yeah, there's
like,
tons of bad ones out there, but I think just having that access, like like Morgan was saying, like she had all these doubts, and then it's like, but then as you like if you do your research and do it well, which is possible, but it's just like because the information is there, it just makes it worth questioning. You're like, oh, this is a concern other people have. And then I think too, like with like just overall people being connected, it may not have been a concern to you prior, but someone may have raised the question, and you're like, oh, that is something I've never thought about, and you're like, maybe that is something worth being concerned about or something.
Yeah. So I think it's like 2020 has definitely brought about crucial conversations with people and having like really good sit down talks as far as like opposing views on a variety of things in 2020, honestly. And this being one of it. And how do we all just kind of respect each other's views and move forward in society to where we're all the choice that's made is better for everyone. And that's kind of where we are now. So I'm really, really pleased at Ohio and how our rollout has been. I know there are some hiccups in some areas, but like really we're doing a phenomenal job with getting folks vaccinated. So that's great. Josh, let me know how you feel. My first one was a doozy. My second one was nothing really.
Yeah.
It was
I've heard the
opposite
second
for
one's like
me.
worse sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, apparently
the second one is supposed to be worse.
So apparently the younger you are, the more like heightened your side effects are.
See, that doesn't help me.
Yeah, I know. We're out of luck, Josh.
Like I'm at this weird odd age of like, I don't know, am I in that, what bracket am I in?
My grandfather, he is 95 and he got it, and he said, I don't even think that lady gave me anything because I don't feel anything. so maybe your theory works because he's 95 and he's just like, I don't feel anything. So
well, that's good. I'm glad he didn't have any effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents were both okay too for their first and second shot. So
Well, this was great. I think catching up with you all virtually is always great. Aside from staff meetings, it's just good to kind of talk about some things that are happening in life and check on us and see how we're doing and have some laughs. So I appreciate you all for joining me for this episode. And we need to kind of focus on spring now and see what is to come in our crazy world. And hopefully we'll have another Stir Crazy spring edition coming up pretty soon. Thank you all.
Thank you.